Hey guys, how's it going? So, today, I'm going to try something a little bit different. This here is going to kind of just be an explanation of... Maybe not an explanation. More so my own thoughts and opinions on Lost Belt 7. This was originally a script for a video that I was going to edit down on my own, but due to various circumstances such as like time issues on my end, as well as also thinking it would be more fun to just like do this with a group and then see what other people think and then play off of their opinions as well. I'm just going to be going through and just talking about Lost Belt 7. So, you know, if you have not played through Lost Belt 7, do yourself a favor, leave the stream, click off the YouTube video. Don't spoil yourself for these kinds of things. The reason why you should be playing Fate is for the story. That is the best part of FGO, is the story, and you're doing yourself a disservice by skipping it or just letting yourself be spoiled for it. I know it's inevitable for some things to get spoiled because of the nature of it being, 2 years on JP and all that extra jive, but, it's like... do yourself a favor. Just don't let yourself be spoiled. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to just kind of like break down what was originally going to be a hard edited video into a stream in the style of what my chat is calling a TED Talk, a klidge talk, if you will. A klidge talk is what you could also call my YouTube shorts if you were so inclined. But, let's get into that. Let's get into it here. Let's start. So, Lost Belt 7. Let's just, off-rip, talk about the rating. Okay? How do you all think Lost Belt 7 should be rated? As a chapter, in comparison to the other chapters in the game, out of 10, where would you rate Lost Belt 7? And if you want to, I may even say rank this amongst the Lost Belts and not the singularities, but you can do whatever you want. The way how I rate it, I rate all the stories as 1. Seeing 8s, 7.5s, 7s, 8 out of 10, 7.5, 8.5. Okay, I see you. I see all of you. So for me, personally, my rating was 7.5 out of 10. For the record, just so people can kind of get like a thought on my own opinions on the other story chapters that are out there. The chapter that I would say is my favorite chapter, you can call me basic for this if you want to, but I mean, when the writing's good, the writing is good. And that's Lost Belt 6, which I would rank as a 9.5 out of 10. There's issues with it that prevent it from being a 10 out of 10, but other than that, I would say 9.5 for that is absolutely fair. Shimosa, I would give an 8.5. Atlantis, I'd say, is about an 8. And then after that, it's kind of like sprinkled pretty here or there with how I think about it. So, like, I don't know. I would call like the big benchmark chapters for most people are Shimosa, Lost Belt 6, and Atlantis. Those are the ones that people are super, super down for. You could also throw in Camelot there for some people, or Babylon, because a lot of people love Babylon as well. But for me, I don't know. Lost Belt 7 I felt was kind of like only a 7.5, and there's a variety of reasons for that we're going to get into right now. What about Shinjuku? I would give Shinjuku like an 8. I have issues with Shinjuku, but I think an 8 is fair. Alright. Let's talk structure. Now, if you're watching my channel, I don't know how you don't know this because I'm an asshole and repeat this all the time, but I teach English as my primary occupation, right? Part of being an English teacher is more so than...
Pain and suffering await you.
14 months.
Flamari, thank you for the resub for 14 months. Welcome back. Glad to have you back. I'm not going to mute those because I do feel bad if I do. But thank you. Welcome back. What the fuck was I saying? Yeah, I work in English. There's more to learning English than just knowing how to speak it. I mean, an ongoing joke is that, you know, it's the only language I speak. Why do I need to learn any more of it? It's like, well, no. What literature arts, as they're referred to nowadays for a lot of people, is supposed to teach you is how to critically analyze and critically think through what you're reading, because the vast majority of things that you read are more than just the words on the page. But let's see. Let's just take a look at how I feel about Lostbelt 7 structure-wise. Lostbelt 7 overall story structure is it's pretty generic from a storytelling point of view. It's very much kind of the middle-of-the-road hero's journey archetype, which makes sense given that we literally are in that for the well, how do I want to put this? You're in the hero's journey aspect of in like every single Lostbelt that you play through, right? Every single one of them is the same thing. If you don't know what the hero's journey is, it more or less goes like this. You have your hero. Your hero has his party. I'm going to get some of this wrong off the top, because I'm running this off the top of my head. You have your hero, he gets his party. You have the goal of going to defeat the Demon King. Along the way, you get a vehicle, you lose the vehicle, you have powers, you lose some of your powers, you have companions, you lose some of your companions. It's all very, like, generic, hero trope-ish kind of deal, and pretty much every single Lostbelt chapter is like that to a degree. We progress through our trials, and I mean that quite literally in Lostbelt 7, because they literally put you through Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Trials. Jesus. Until we wind up at the very bottom of the world where we find the Demon King who is asleep. He wakes up, we fight him in a climactic fight, triumph, and then leave. And that, okay. Actually, I have this written out significantly better. I'm just gonna read it off the paper, because I'm not trying to make this sound like I'm just reading off the paper, but fuck it. It's here. I have a script, I may as well use it. Very much middle of the hero's journey archetype, which makes sense given that we are literally in the middle of our hero's journey. We lose our vehicle and some of our powers and slowly regain them as we progress through the world. We meet up with lost comrades, learn some of the history of the place that we are in, or rather the lack thereof, and find that there are a number of villainous, masked enemies that we need to defeat. We progress through trials, and I mean that literally, until we wind up at the bottom of the world where the Demon King sleeps. He wakes up, we fight him in a climactic fight, triumph, and then leave. That is the basic structure of Lostbelt 7. Which, in turn, is also the basic structure of almost every single Lostbelt, but what sets each of these Lostbelts apart from one another is the setting and the characters. Which brings us to setting. Mexico. Sorry. This should have been in parentheses. We're in quote-unquote South America, right? I could get into why we're not in South America and that we're in Mexico, but it's stupid. It's just the world's dumbest bait and switch, which is not, like, it ain't good. If you could imagine, it was not very well received in the West when they found out that we're in hell. Well, it wasn't very well received in the West when they found out that the place that they said that we were going to be is not where we actually ended up being, which sucks. It really does, because a lot of people were hyped because there's like, oh, we're gonna go to South America. There's gonna be all kinds of cool stuff here. The main inhabitants of the world that we in are dinosaurs and monkey jaguar men. The dinosaurs are conceptually really cool. Design-wise, they're really fun. I gotta say, having talking massive dinosaurs that talk to you and play soccer is really like a fun idea. And then the monkey jaguar men are also pretty fun. I don't hate their designs at all. I actually like them quite a bit. They're really, really fun. They dress, I mean, both of them kind of like dress in like classical Aztec-ish attire, save for the fact that the monkey men are wearing like t-shirts and jeans. I don't know. regardless, the monkey men also have like guns and AK-47s, which is really, really kind of funny to see. It's entertaining for what it is. And then, you know, we also find out that the dinosaurs, they worship their own guy called the Dinosaur King, who's this blonde little child guy with, like, a gun that you can't see on his sprite unless you zoom out, and then he has this, like, insane gun that's there, and he's an asshole, but not really. And then the monkey jaguar men, they kidnap the dinosaurs to sacrifice to their god, who looks like an adult version of the guy who's ruling the dinosaurs. It's a really, really fun... It's a really, really fun idea. I don't dislike the setting at all. And then, of course, there's also, you know, the fact that we are in hell, and that there's ancient aliens that we're dealing with as both enemies, allies, and somewhere in between. Which is, it's fun. I kind of like the idea. I mean... It almost makes me wish that we had an Egyptian Lostbelt where we could have seen something similar, because there is the whole conspiracy theory that the pyramids were built by the aliens, and then they could play around with that concept a bit. But I'm more than okay with the idea that the gods of the Aztec underworld, or the gods of the Aztec mythology, are all fungus. They're all space fungus. It's fun. It's a fun and different idea, you know? I don't know how I would have... I don't know how they think of these things, but it's certainly interesting. Alright. So, this is our first intermission of, I think, 3. Are there any immediate questions? This is where the bot gets unmuted. If you have anything that you would like to say, you may ask it now. I'm just going to let you know, I'm just going to read off the script going forward about the next subject that's coming up. Do I think we'll ever get an actual South American chat? No. Never. It's never going to happen. South America does not exist to the Japanese. There's Mexico.
How do you feel about child but not child but also God?
He's fine. I think his design is fun. I like that he's, like, fucking scrungly. He looks like an angry wet cat all the time. And his personalities, I mean, he acts like a toddler, and he looks like a toddler, so, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. His personality fits the character that he's on. Will we discuss gameplay? No. Nasun is Europe favoritism? I mean... Sure, there is some of that. Is there anyone in Lostbelt 7 that I want out of NPC jail? We'll get to that. Well, I'll answer that question later. How to get into VTubing? This is gonna sound...
Do you think this is the closest to Tsukihime we will get in FGO?
I'm just gonna say this right now, and I don't mean this to sound facetious or, like,
feel about
mean.
the hero's journey in town that she mirrors the actual Mayan myth of the twins' journey?
I think that's fun. I think it's a really fun idea that they do it like that. I kind of wish they would have played with that concept maybe a little bit more instead of it being an illusion, but, you know, I do think it's an entertaining thing. How did it get...
You missed her brisk touch with death.
How to get into VTubing? I would say just do it. That sounds like a douchey thing to say, but just... You can make a model for free in a program called Vroid Studio, and then there's a free 3D model capture program that the name of it is escaping me, but you can, if you just look up VTubing, like, captures, like, it'll be one of the first options. It's like, it's VTube Studio and then that one. And then just do it and just have fun. Just stream with the VTuber model, find ways to make it interactive, and just enjoy yourself while you do it. You can use
reality for tubing on the go.
Yeah. Alright. Any more questions? No? Okay. let's get into the part of any story that I care about the most, I'm just going to say. Because a setting is only as good as the people that you have populating it. You can theory craft the most interesting world ever. If you can have the best ideas for the absolute best world building, but if you can't have characters in it, then most of the time it's useless. And Lostbelt 7 does suffer a lot in this regard. So, we're going to start with the characters that I consider to be the good characters. The characters that are done, I would argue, are the ones that are done well. Okay? Madam President Olga. Olga is maybe the star of the show in this chapter. While I don't really like the amnesiac villain joining the heroes trope, as it's very overdone, they pull it off pretty well in this chapter through two means. She remembers her purpose to a degree, and Rasputin is there. Her remembering that she is a higher being who wishes to overtake the Earth for herself means that we as a player do have to still consider her to be a threat. Sure, friendship and bonding and whatever will overcome the villainous nature trope is there, but it's hard to consider her to be a real threat given how goofy that she is. But up until this point, she has been nothing but a menace. Just take, for example, the fact that she blows up our current base of operations with a black hole. So, getting a peek into her true personality beneath the mask of being the president of Earth is kind of fun. Second, Rasputin being there makes all aspects of potential friendship questionable at best, because we know with outright certainty that we cannot trust him. As such, it makes it a real kind of neat game. As such, it makes for a real neat... Oh my god. As such, it makes for a kind of neat game dynamic of having the greatest evil there with us who can't remember that we are her enemies, and her right-hand man who does and is using her amnesia and our power for his side's gain. And then, yeah, I was discussing it on Twitch earlier this week, which this was been ages ago, and someone brought up that they don't get why she kept coming back to help us after retreating and time again, and she is one of two characters that does this exact same thing. For her, it makes sense because she has conflicting feelings about everything and is incredibly fickle by her very nature. This is her Olga side overriding her alien god side, and her showing up time and time again after running away feels more natural to her character. Oh. It also makes it so when she sacrifices herself at the end, it's all the more impactful as it shows that she has reclaimed some of the resolve. It shows that she's reclaimed some of her resolve and has come to terms with herself, and now how she feels about us as individuals. I'm going to lump Rasputin in with her in the good character category because he always feels like a threat even when he isn't being one. His writing is done so well. It is seriously done so well. I guess I should also mention the Lone Marine as well. That's in this part, because he served as more of a plot device than a full-on character, but it was really fun to see how a Marine operates outside of the main unit alone. We learn a lot about the Nemo... We really do learn a lot about the Nemo series and how it operates from him, and how each of them has like a slightly different personality. He also serves as well as a device to make Olga and Tepeu more relatable characters to a degree, because otherwise it's a dinosaur and a god who wants to murder us. Alright. And, you know, that's why I like her. I really feel like they did an amazing job with Olga. Next good character. Woo Man. Tez. So, next I want to talk about Tez. I am, personally, very critical of how villains are usually written in Fate, because most of the time, they suck. And that's a controversial statement if ever there was one, but I'll be honest with you, the vast majority of villains that show up in Fate, not just FGO, but Fate in general, kind of suck as villains. They're not good villains. For example, I don't really like Gilgamesh in the villain's role because his motivation is dumb, but when you put him in the hero's role, he's very, very entertaining to see. His motivation as a villain is shit. His motivations as a hero and how he operates as a hero are awesome. Amakusa is fucking boring. Zeus is kind of generic as well. He's boring, etc., etc. That's kind of the thing when it comes to Fate villains. The vast majority of them are just kind of, like, I don't know, it plays on like the I'm a troubled and very strong person, and things have distanced themselves away from how I feel. It's like, okay, I get it. We've heard this song and dance so many times. We don't need to do it anymore. But Tez does something that I really like in a villain, and he pulls it off really, really well, and it's incredibly hard to do in a villain's role. And that is to play as somebody who is chaotic neutral, and being able to do that correctly. His alignment is lawful evil, but that is absolutely beside the point. Tez is motivated by seeing people fight and seeing people struggle. He wants to see the most interesting outcome from a conflict possible, and will play both sides of the field to make that happen. We die in Mictlan right at the very start. We are instantly dead at the start of the story. And he decides to bring us back at the cost for master rights. He trains a man from proper human history to become a sacrifice to a space spider, and then shoots him in the head when his faith wavers. He is willing to sacrifice the entire world just to see what happens. He massacres our entire crew to send a message. He massacres our entire... Oh my god, I'm sorry. Sorry, here, little aside, everyone. I'm horribly sick right now, so if I sound stupid and out of it, it's because I am. He massacres our entire crew, mostly to send a message, even though he knows that there are survivors in the ship via illusion magic because he's a god, but leaves them because it would be more interesting that way. He is a right bastard, and I love him for it. He feels completely fair as a villain, one of those that you love to hate. He's a rotten asshole, but incredibly entertaining to watch because you never really know what he's going to do next. I'm sure some of you will disagree with me, or are still typing the hate comments about me not liking Gilgamesh as a villain, but I think Tez is pretty cool. Tez is chaotic good. This mother... Is that his actual alignment? This motherfucker is chaotic neutral as hell. Like, hands down. I've read somewhere he was lawful evil, but whatever. Who cares? Chaotic good, whatever. He's chaotic neutral. Do you have any idea how hard it is to write somebody as chaotic neutral? To have somebody just be truly chaotic in both directions? He's not motivated by good or evil. He just wants to see what's going to happen. That is so difficult to pull off, and they do it masterfully with him. You mean a troll? Kind of. Kind of, yeah. I like him. I like Stinky here. Next good character. That's Kotomi Nekire too. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Fully Mephistopheles said better representation. It would be nice. Camazotz. Sticking on the villain's path, we have, of course, Camazotz. Pretty much everything I said about Tez, you can apply to Camazotz as well. The difference being is that Camazotz is completely unpredictable. You can kind of assume that wherever David is, Tez isn't too far behind and vice versa, but Camazotz is sporadic. He just appears and messes with you until you drive him off. But then they hit you with his backstory about how he has more or less become an ambivalent king who watched all of his people die so that he could kill Ort, and then sealing away the weight of that survivor's guilt until we came along and forced that shit out of him to remember. That is a great character. Absolutely amazing. That explanation is not doing his character story service at all, and it's why you need to read Lostbelt 7, if for no other reason to read how good of a character Camazotz is. It makes complete sense that everybody wants him and that he's never coming to fucking FGO. This fucker is in NPC jail forever. You're never gonna get him out. He's going to rot there because the game hates you. He is never leaving NPC jail. It's not happening. His ass is there for eternity. He didn't watch his people die. His kingdom all sacrificed themselves to make him immortal so he could... that is exactly what I said. And he watched them sacrifice themselves so that he could do that. That is exactly what I said. God forbid we love a man. Not allowed to happen. We love women in this house. Alright. And last, and yeah, weird, right? There's four characters I consider to be good characters in Lostbelt 7. The last character is Nitocris. I would say Nitocris is arguably one of the more well-fleshed out servants that we have from a character perspective, given that she appears in a lot of events and multiple story chapters. Most of the time, she is around either Ozymandias or another one of the pharaohs to some variety, but in my opinion, where she really shines is when she's on her own or with a character that is not related to Egypt at all. And I gotta say, she's pretty compelling as a character, racked with guilt and self-doubt for her actions that led to her becoming a heroic spirit. So, seeing her actually tackle these concepts in this chapter and functionally evolve is pretty interesting. Her vanishing as she does at the end too is an interesting touch, considering that we know that she isn't necessarily gone, but it is a nice nod to her coming to terms. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. They did her a lot of justice. I have so much love for her. And I lied to all of you, by the way. There is one more good character. It's Wakchan. Did you really think I was gonna not put this guy on here? Are you serious? Wakchan is the best character in the entire chapter. He just love him wife, and he just like me for real. Moving on. Question time. Is there anything you would like to ask me, Chad? About my picks for the good characters? Anything? Anything at all?
What about the master? It's nice this their last belt.
Well, it's nice this is their last lost belt. They're okay. I think that you get to see more of what the Master of Chaldea does in this.
Wakchan had pets.
Yes, you get to see more of what the Master of Chaldea does in this chapter. Like they're slowly but surely building them up as their own proper character. They started doing it more in Lost Belt 6. They kind of did some of it in Trom, but not really. But Lost Belt 7, it was like kind of a nice middle ground between those two. I'm interested to see how the character of the Master of Chaldea evolves throughout the ordeal calls, because those are much more focused on them, if I'm understanding them correctly, and what it means to be a master of humanity. But I'm not fully certain because I've thankfully not spoiled myself on any of the ordeal call chapters save for one. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how that develops.
What do you think of Dinosaur Shiki? Forgot his name, and Skuk.
We'll get to that. Lost Belt 7 is your true measure as a master, with the theme of your seals going to others and how they use them. Yeah, which I think is an interesting dynamic to see how you react. I guess the issue is that the character of the Master of Chaldea is very stagnant. They don't really change how they operate or think, I guess. They're more or less like, you know what you're going to get with them. They're going to try and solve the problems without violence, if possible. And, I don't know. Just once, I just want them to have another Doman moment where they're like, fuck you, and just shoot somebody. What are your thoughts on the altars that were in our way? Hot. Next question.
Would you agree that Marine and Wakchan is pulling the Olga part and Rasputin is pulling the alien god part of you Olga in a tug of war the whole last belt?
That's an interesting way to read it, but I don't know if I would say it's a tug of war, more of just like those characters all serve to help build Olga as a character, which they spend a lot of time with Olga as like a main lead for the Lost Belt, so you know. It's kind of cool. I want to see more of her in the future. What are my thoughts on human Dumazid? Dumazid is one of the funniest characters in Fate because he's just an asshole. He's just like a weird asshole. He's just a weirdo who's a dick. And his design is really fun. He's just a naked twink with a sheepskin. Horishito. Yeah. Alright. I think we will move on from here. So, I struggle to see. This is why I edit my videos, just to peer under the veil of like video editing. I say and fuck up my words like this all the time, which is why I don't ever do this shit live, because I cannot talk. Anyway, these next characters I don't want to call bad, but they all left a lot to be desired for me. So I'm going to call these instead the not so good. Okay? How do you talk when you teach at school? Not in long-winded paragraphs like this. Normally there's a lot more breaks in between what I'm saying, and also answering questions with people. I think you know what I think it is? I think it's reading off of a script. Because what happens is my eyes read faster than what I can speak, and so it fucks me up. That guy got killed. Oh wait, no, that's not a ban, that was an uptime thing. Okay. I thought somebody just got got by the bot. Alright. Get scanned for 1,000 points. Alright. Yeah, these next characters, I'm not going to call them bad. I'm going to call them not so good. Because there's very few characters I would say were like bad in this chapter, but you know. So, let's start with the big one. Let's start with the one who I think is maybe not bad. Maybe this is maybe the most disappointing character for me. Cuckoo. Ugh. Design and personality-wise, I really like Cuckoo. She's a bubbly goddess with a carefree personality and some of the best expressions in the entire game. She is, by all accounts, one of the least threatening characters in the entire Lostbelt. Despite this, they attempt to paint her as being cold, robotic, unsympathetic, and possibly threatening, and fail at that miserably in these attempts. Not once in the entire Lostbelt did I ever assume that Cuckoo was going to be a threat of any form, and not once was she. At best, she says things along the lines of like she can kill us if she wanted to, and just kind of like logs into the Matrix and takes info from the feds who want us dead, but this doesn't go anywhere at all. It's just more or less showing like, oh yeah, just so you know, the space fungus feds can kill you and they want you dead, and they're channeling it through the fucking fungus here. And you know, I mentioned with Olga that she would keep coming back to help us, and it made sense as to why she did it. Cuckoo also keeps coming back to help us, but it doesn't make sense on why she does. You cannot build her character. You cannot build your character to be potentially threatening when she keeps acting as Deus Ex Machina to get us out of every bad situation. Cuckoo is, at her best, being an ally, and at her worst, trying to play the villain. Even at the end when she's watching all of the Danos die, it just feels wrong, off. Like, sure, she's meant to see the end of the world and all that, but it's just kind of forced and weird. I don't know. It feels like it was set up to make Tepeu feel more philosophical, as if his words had changed the goddess, but it doesn't read that way at all. Instead, it reads closer to the writers having put themselves into a corner a bit to be like, we need a reason for her to go back and not just kill the Chaldeans. Because up until this point, everything that she does is just like, okay, she's watched everything die, now she's going to go fulfill the other part of her obligation, which is to go kill the Chaldeans. And, you know, they have the whole thing with, like, oh, the voice is in her head, the feds are all dead, and now they can't tell her to do that so she can act as she wants. But it's just, like, it doesn't feel right, I guess. The writing on it is so weird. Her ending, as well, is just kind of okay. Her being a part of Orton functionally absorbing him is... It is fun. But again, it feels more like a cop-out than anything. I'm very much torn as a character. I'm very much torn on her as a character, because I feel she hasn't developed enough. But I will say, she has the framework to be something super interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with her. Like, I kind of expect them to give her a summer form, and not a summer Koyanskaya, specifically because one person at Lasagna watches Plushie's videos and is intentionally pushing back future Fox updates, that is FFUs if you are counting at home. It's just not going to happen. We're gonna get a Cuckoo thing. They're going to expand on Cuckoo as a character a bit more, and I gotta say I'm looking forward to it. She has a lot going on that can be really fun. I just need them to do something with it. All right, Summer Cuckoo Berserker, right? She's also gonna T-pose attack people. All right. And I'm going to lump this next pair of people together. Oh, no, okay. I have no problems with her being overpowered. Her being overpowered is super understandable. She's a creator goddess. It's in the contract. Like, her strength isn't the issue I have with her. The issue I have with her is that she's written like dog shit. It feels like they don't know what to do with her at all. They're more, like, focused on just talking about how strong that she is, and just being able to show off how strong she is, but then she's supposed to be a villain to us to a degree, and she never feels like it. Like, it feels wrong to try and force her into the mold of being threatening against the protagonist when she isn't at all. She's just there for the gotcha? No, I wouldn't go that far. All right. Yeah, the next ones I'm lumping together as well. Izcalli and Tlaloc. Now, conceptually, both of these characters are really cool. Izcalli is actually a proper human history Montezuma who is willing to die for the sins of his past, and Tlaloc is the spirit of what was described as the most beautiful city in the world, but destroyed to make way for something new. Izcalli fights... Excuse me. Izcalli fights to correct his actions and own weakness, while Tlaloc fights for every person who resides within her walls. Both of these characters can work super well. They get next to zero development. The concept behind Izcalli is cool, and seeing how he is clearly different from those that he rules over is a kind of interesting dynamic, but he more or less just feels like a stock reluctant character. Or rather, a stock reluctant villain. Tlaloc gets her very cool scene where she holds off Ort for a brief time because she has the hearts of the people with her, but otherwise she's more like a mystery villain who pops in and out until the, aha, I was the city the whole time, and you were inside me! They do very little to develop either of them, and so both of them are ultimately killed, so that when both of them are ultimately killed, the weight that could be there just kind of isn't. Hell, Izcalli's death is done for the purpose of furthering Tez's character, and Tlaloc is once again a convenient out for the heroes, making it kind of boring. The death of Tlaloc is just more Deus Ex Machina. The end of Lostbelt 7 has so much Deus Ex Machina. It's just like, she got into her Gundam and now she's able to hold off the giant frisbee for at least 10 more seconds because a monkey man said, "Ah, you rock, Tlaloc!" I don't know. Izcalli feels like a wasted character. I feel like there's a lot more that can be done with Izcalli, and maybe we'll get him as a servant knowing that he's Montezuma. I could see them even doing an event for that, which would be kind of fun. How did she even reach the city before we did? Deus Ex Machina. You don't understand, we really need those scenes of the Storm Border getting destroyed again. I know, right? Yeah, and don't get me wrong, maybe I should also put this up top. Me saying that I think that their writing in the chapter was bad does not mean that I dislike these characters. Like, if we're just gonna like look at the ones who were here, if you even watched my content before, you're like, dude, I like Cuckoo. I really like Cuckoo. Ugh. I'm kind of mixed on Tlaloc. I mean, I need to see more of her, but I don't dislike her. I don't know enough about Izcalli to like or dislike him, but I think that he's got a really good design. I personally feel nothing for Izcalli. I mean, that's kind of where I am. I'm very neutral on Izcalli because he's very... You don't dislike Izcalli? I'm very neutral on Izcalli. They don't do anything with him. How am I supposed to hate him? I don't know. And next. Literally every other character I am more or less indifferent towards. Genuinely, all of the rest of them I am completely indifferent towards. The pterosaur guy is a stock villain. I really don't care. He's incredibly generic. I'll say this, death rolling is really cool, but ultimately they're just gag characters, so it's like, whatever. I like them. Don't get me wrong, I do like them, but they're just kind of there. I did like the scene of the dinosaurs just getting up and arming themselves and running into battle. That shit was pretty heat. I mean that's on that. I'm pretty sure there's like a stream clip of me dying laughing at that, where it's just like the Stegosaurus picks up like, well, time to go to war, and just picks up an AK-47 and starts walking off. I was losing my shit. It's so funny. And then yeah, Koyaskai comes in to save the heroes, and that's fun and all, but she gets her ass beaten like every single time that she fights, so like, why are you here? But it's cool to see her in action. Most of the other characters I have no real strong feelings for. I kind of talked about the Dinosaur King earlier. I'm trying to think of any other like major characters that are there that I haven't mentioned at all. Am I missing anyone, chat? I didn't like how most of the dinosaurs were too logical. I mean, that is their one personality trait. Well, a lot of you guys have already called me out on it, and yeah, you know. There is one character I left out. But first, let's do a little bit of a question time. Send in your questions while I get a drink to redeem that, Oh, I did forget about mentioning Daybit. I did talk about Tez already, but I could talk about Daybit. I would say that Daybit is maybe one of the more interesting cryptors. I would put him at number 3 for me in terms of being, well, no. 3 or 4. He's either number 3 or number 4. The explanation as to why the way that he is super interesting. I would put David into a good character. I should do that. I would say David is good. David is definitely good. In terms of the cryptids that I think are the most interesting, I would think, for me, it's Pepe is number 1. Hinako is number 2. Kirshtaria is number 3, and then David is number 4. I will not explain why Hinako is number 2. I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, I would put David in like a good character. He's really fun to watch. It's seeing somebody who's incredibly analytical with a very, very weird, like, you don't understand why he does the things that he does until the very end, and that reveal is super cool. And then getting his backstory is also really fun. So, you know. It's also, it's an interesting concept to think that he may not really be dead because his servant is an underworld god. Despite her flaws, would you say Tlaloc is baby? She is baby. She's baby girl. But that's the thing, is I don't know if I would consider him to be a villain per se. He's very... David is like true neutral. Which is also an incredibly difficult character to write. I would say he's arguably a true neutral character. Do I think that Ket should have been in this Lost Belt? No. I think Cuckoo is enough. Good chance David will return to help us in the future. I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't say that considering he did wake up, or he woke up Ort though for a purpose. It wasn't just for like shits and gigs. He was doing it for a reason. I mean, it may not be a reason that makes sense to us, but, you know, or a reason that's like correct, but, you know, it's an interesting thing regardless. All right. We left out one character, chat. This is the part of the video where people get to call me an asshole. There was one character that we neglected to mention. Tepeu. Is it Tepeu or Tepeu? I'm gonna call him Tepeu because I've been calling him Tepeu. If it's Tepeu, I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna keep calling him Tepeu. All right. I might be the only person in the entire Type Moon community to feel this way, but I really do not like Tepeu. I don't hate him. So before you decapitate me, just know I don't hate the guy. And I think his design is really fun. Design-wise, pretty good. It's a really fun design. He's a giant he's a velociraptor, a Raptorian kind of character with the Aztec theming and the glasses. It's fun. It's a really, really interesting and fun design. But he fills a very, very specific character niche that I find incredibly annoying as is, and then is the most annoying type of that character he can possibly be in that niche. I personally do not care for the character archetype that is, guy who is introduced to something new and immediately knows everything and can solve every problem. The dialogue sucks Tepeu's dick over and over about how smart he is and how we would be dead without him when we all know damn well that is not true. He's like ChatGPT, but as a dinosaur. Question go in, answer come out, but oop, he's just a silly little guy though. I know the character that he's based on, and I do have an actual hatred for that guy, but Tepeu is different enough as a character that I do not associate the two together, outside of some obvious references that the game throws at you. He acts like a genius, and is called a genius by everyone in the game, and then does nothing of actual note. Hell, he is his only really useful for knowing people and knowing the road and literally nothing else. They give him a whole backstory with his mystic eyes and how he can see death, and that's why he's an outcast. And I couldn't care less. His relationship with not Arkerwood is stale and boring. He just acts like an older brother and then she dies. His whole speech that he does to Cuckoo at the end of the chapter is just him repeating the same boring shit, trying to be philosophical dialogue for 15 minutes while he rots on the ground. And I would show my honest reaction to that if I can dig up the clip, but it's literally just me being like, fucking, I don't care. And a lot of people in stream right now will remember, and that this isn't just like a weird Mandela thing with me. He just kept saying the same basic ass points for fucking 10 minutes. It was the same shit. It was the exact same shit over and over again. It's like, we get it. We get it, you stupid fucking bird. He feels like the most stock character in a chapter with an overabundance of stock characters. His only saving grace is that his design is good. But, you know, because he's partially related to Tsukihime, very specifically a Tsukihime character that Nasu has such a boner for, diehard Type Moon fans probably will lick his slimy cloaca and thank him for it. This character is nothing. He's nothing. He's such a worthless nothing of a character. He serves zero purpose in the entirety of the Lostbelt. Like I said, ChatGPT. That's all that he is. Self-insert dinosaur. Tonoshiki is a horribly written character. Tepeu is a better written character than him, but when you had to dig to put the bar even lower than the ground, and then he could just walk over it, that's not a very, you know, it's not that difficult to do. He's just a reference. All that he is a reference to be like, guys, Tsukihime. I would like to give a big shout out, by the way, to all of the Tsukihime fans. Congratulations, your thing got another adaptation, and now you can read Tsukihime for the very first time. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and act like other chapters don't have this exact type of character, because a lot of chapters do. You know what I mean? Like, let's just think about the other companions that we get in the Lostbelts, right? We have Patsy. Patsy serves a very similar purpose to Tepeu, right? He's the guide. He's the guide who, like, leads you around and is just like, okay, here's how things are, and this is how the world works, and all of this. Except he's actually useful beyond just knowing people and things. And he actually has a full-on, meaningful character arc. People still consider Anastasia to be such a good chapter, not in a small part because of Patsy's, like, final speech to the main character. It's really, really well done. It makes you feel something when that fucker dies, instead of being like, I would rather skip this dialogue. Reading Tepeu's shit. I'm trying to remember the name of the elf girl in Lostbelt 2. She's not really a character. She's kind of a guide, but not really. She's really... I like her design. She's cute, but, you know. You have the hop girl. Gerda, thank you. She's okay, but, like, she also doesn't, like... The story doesn't linger on her very much. Like, where it lingers on somebody like Patsy or Tepeu, it doesn't linger on her as much, so I don't really have as many complaints about her being the way that she is. No, I would say that Patsy is the best comparison to Tepeu. Like, sure, fucking Macarius and Adele are also up there, but those two are much closer to the Patsy side of things because they're useful. They have a whole character arc that's meaningful. You actually feel something when, like, those two are falling down to earth, being like, we finally do it, we get to escape, but I wish I got to see you get older. I get chills thinking about that shit, because it's so sad. What's the... There was a little Chinese boy in Lostbelt 3 who I don't even think has a name. He's not really a character at all. My brain is so bad with remembering the characters. There's a little boy in Lostbelt 5 originally as well who just... He has the hots for Musashi and then gets fucking descent evaporated. The girl from Lostbelt 4, I kind of like her as a companion just because... she just... How do you say? You get to experience the world through her because it's really, really just fucked up. Seeing her lose her family, her dog, and everyone else around her. Not Musashi. It was Charlotte. Okay. How about an Avalon LeFay, who is the companion character? Is it Oberon or Habitat? Well, I neglected Lostbelt. I neglected Lostbelt 6 because Lostbelt 6 doesn't really have a singular one. There's a bunch of different characters that fill that role. You have, like, the goblins that help out MASH. Habitat helps out both us and MASH. Oberon helps us out as well, which is kind of, like, you know... There's that. Castoria serves that role as well. Like, there's not one singular character, so I think Lostbelt 6 is exempt from that. Gareth as well, kind of, but not really. I mean, that's the thing, though. I'm seeing more than a few different answers here. Yeah, Hope, too. Hope is also there as well. So, you know. When are we going to get her as a character? Chat, what if I manifested into the world right now that we're going to get a Hope character before we get Camazotz? I'm casting this curse upon all of you right now. We're going to get a Hope character as a pseudo-servant before we get a Camazotz. That's some potent copium. Which one? Getting Camazotz or getting Hope? Yes. Place your bets. I mean, they're both losing horses, chat, so it's gonna be which one is not in last place. Set this to the side. Anyway. Final thoughts, and then we'll do a final question time as well. On that happy note, I did enjoy Lostbelt 7. Even though I found that most of the characters were not to my personal liking. I think that it was a very good mix of both goofy and tragedy. And I did read most of the story over the course of 1 week because it was that enjoyable. And it's always a treat to see how the writers play around with these new scenarios like this. And even though we've run the hero's journey structure so many times, it's still really cool to see them put new spins on it. That we just taking us to hell in Mexico is such a fun idea, and then making us go through actual trials and making us relive an actual Mayan mythological journey is so cool. Get scammed, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. With all that said, though, for every compelling and interesting character, there's inversely many stock, boring characters. I respect that they pace themselves pretty well, because when the crown jewels of your chapter is a massive raid, their goal is to race to the finish to get to it. I can maybe describe that better. The big draw of Lostbelt 7, the big final thing that they want you to see, that's so cool, is Ort. They want you to go and experience Ort in that raid and doing the fight where he takes away your servants and you fight through all of it, and it's super cool. It's such a fun idea for a final boss that requires you to have been actually taking care of your roster. It punishes you for being a bad master, which is super fun storytelling that isn't even fully intentional, right? And so it takes a fuck ton of restraint as a writer, as a game creator, to not rush through your chapter to get to the super cool thing. They did the pacing for that really well, and I gotta say, I respect it. That's a lot. So many people are just story in this chapter didn't fucking matter. We're just gonna have Tepeu explain it to you, and then we're gonna have you go fight a giant space spider. All right, Bob's your uncle. It's super fun. The combat in the Lostbelt is chock full of super unique encounters, which is also a really nice change. Save for some of the character story overall, is pretty fun. Yeah, and so I don't know. If to go back to the main point, I think 7.5 is fair. I thoroughly enjoyed what I sat through. but there are definitely glaring issues that I had with it. So, you know. Do I have another... Did I set up another questions thing? Okay, I did. That's all I really have for this. So, any final questions from you before we wrap this bitch up? So you have hated every chapter since 5 then. Oh, wait, what? Lostbelt 7 is mostly ruined for me because of that. I hate having to use characters I don't like. Dropped it to a 6 for me. I mean, that's the thing, though, is at least in my Chaldea, I was able to use characters that I did like almost exclusively for my fights. Like, I still had characters I could pick from to finish off the fight if I needed to. How would I rank Lostbelt 7 compared to the others?
Thoughts on Camazotz x Nitocris?
There can't be a Camazotz x Nitocris because I'm fucking Camazotz in the ass. Where's my rating? There you go. Okay, yeah, I guess like, some people missed it already, but I'd say 9.5 is my highest rated chapter, which is Lostbelt 6. I would put Okeanos at like a 7. I doubt that. Camazotz is clearly the one on top. Well, it's a power struggle then. Ever hear of a thruple? Sorry, no girls allowed. Quote from a straight man. The Camazotz or the Batussi, whichever you want to call it. It's a power play. What do you think about Wakchan? Okay, well. Characters? The good? There's your answer. Love him. He's perfect.
Overall, what's your rating on Lostbelt series as a whole?
I would have to go and revamp my tier list that I did for that a long time ago. If you just mean like the collective Lostbelts, from 1 through 7, including Trom, including all like the 0.5 and 0.2 chapters, all of that shit, I would say that the Lostbelts overall, in terms of story, by and large are a 7.5, if not an 8. I am yet to go through... That's not true. Only once in the entirety of the Lostbelts did I ever feel like, God, I am bored. And the only time that I felt like that was in Lostbelt 2, which was years ago. So, you know, I don't really remember it that well, and I could just... It might be worth the reread. But Lostbelt 2 felt as cold and stale as the environment that it was in. I like Lostbelt 3 is the thing. I really like the theming that they do in Lostbelt 3, but I totally understand why other people do not like Lostbelt 3. Me personally, I think that one's pretty decent. My favorite Lostbelt is 6. Easy. 6 is the best one.
What do you think is the long-lasting effect of pound cheese specifically to Nitocris specifically moving forward?
I think the long-lasting effects of Lostbelt 7 on Ritsuka are going to be mostly just seeing that even when humans are in their most absolute perfect form, I guess, is the way to put it, which would be like how the Danos are. They live a perfectly peaceful and logical life, and they can continue to live that life for as long, functionally indefinitely. They can live forever. But there's no innovation. It's boring. Stagnation like that is bad. That it's okay that things are bad and that you have to struggle, because that's what gives life meaning. Otherwise, you're just sitting there and doing nothing. Even in a perfect utopia ruled by dinosaurs, it's just like, well, like, what's the point? Even though you can live forever, what's the reason? Why? What's the purpose of living forever? I mean, for an upcoming podcast episode that's going to be coming out for the Nostalgia Pile. By the way, if you're listening to this, go listen to the Nostalgia Pile. I make a comment on how the concept of heaven gives me no peace, because the concept of eternal utopia is a hell for me. it does nothing. It does nothing for me. It's not something I would personally enjoy. And the sacrifice of the individuality of a person in order to be a part of that is not something I would want. Which, not to get existential or anything like that, but, you know. My favorite was admittedly Lostbelt 1. Lostbelt 1 is good. Okay, I'm just going to do a off-the-hip firing of what I would consider to be the best, or just the rankings overall. Anastasia, 8 out of 10. Gottendammerung, like a fucking 5 out of 10, 5 or 4 out of 10. You know what, 5. I like Ophelia. Ophelia is really fun, so I'd say that's a 5. Ophelia is really fun. Sutter is really fun. Scotty is really fun. And Shitonai is really fun in that chapter. And Napoleon. You know what? I'll give it a 6. I forget that Napoleon is in that chapter, but every time I remember, I'm like, God, he's really, really good in that chapter. Everything else is kind of fucking whatever. Lostbelt 3, I would give it a 7. Lostbelt 4, I would give an 8. Lostbelt 5.1, I would give a 8.5. Lostbelt 5.2, I would give like a 7. Lostbelt 5.5, I would give like a fucking 4. Lostbelt 6, I would give a 9.5. Trom, I would give an 8. And Lostbelt 7, I'd give a 7.5. Kentucky was a bro in 5.5. 5.5 is such a confusing chapter. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this video here. If there's any other burning questions that you have, I will answer them for you in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, hey, how's it going? Come check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/klidge radio. Additionally, if you would like to continue to support me in ways that are a bit more monetary, I do have a Patreon. And you get early access to all of the weekly YouTube shorts in batches of 7 videos if you go there, as well as other videos that I'm working on as they come out, or also other things like early access to polls, polls, merch, etc. as they come out. So if you would like to support me there, you can. Otherwise, subscribing helps. This year, we can get to 25,000 subs this year if you all come together and sub, because I'm gonna do the cringe YouTuber thing. I know for a fact that 60% of you who watch my shit ain't subbed. I see the statistics. If you all subbed, if that's 60% of people all subbed right now, we could be at 50,000 subs, which is halfway to 100,000, which is crazy. The fact that we're even this far along in this little hobby of mine is awesome. So, you know, a little bit of appreciation from me to you. Thank you all. Other than that, I have social media. I occasionally post stupid shit. Go listen to the podcast. For now, though, fellas, keep your chin up. Peace out.